Welcome to the Google Cloud Update. We've got a packed episode for you covering the week of September 15th, 2025. This week is all about keeping your infrastructure modern, performant, and secure. Here's a look at what we'll be covering today. First, we'll tackle a massive version refresh for Google Kubernetes Engine and a new release for Google Distributed Cloud. Then, we'll dive into a treasure trove of new features for BigQuery, including time travel for Iceberg tables and Gemini-powered SQL code completion. Spanner also gets two huge updates, with its Cassandra interface and schema-less graph support both hitting general availability. We'll also cover important updates for Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL, new features in Security Command Center, and key changes to Cloud Armor and IAM. And as always, we'll wrap up with the latest client library updates. Let's get into it. Kicking things off with compute and containers. For those of you running hybrid environments, Google Distributed Cloud for VMware has a new version, 1.3.1.900.38, which is now available for download. This release is running on Kubernetes v1.3.1.12-GKE.200 and includes fixes for a number of vulnerabilities. A crucial heads up: if you are using a third-party storage vendor, make sure to check the GDC Ready Storage Partners document to ensure your vendor has qualified this new release. Also, remember it can take up to 2 weeks for the new version to be available via the console, G-Cloud CLI, or Terraform. Now, for Google Kubernetes Engine, it's a big week for version updates with the 2025 R39 release. There's a flurry of new versions landing in all channels. For those on the bleeding edge in the rapid channel, the new default version for cluster creation is now 1.34.0 GKE 1662000. New patch releases are available for Kubernetes versions 1.30 through 1.34. This also means that auto-upgrade targets have been updated. For example, clusters on version 1.32 will be automatically upgraded to a new patch on 1.33.4. A similar refresh has happened across the regular, stable, and extended channels, with new versions available, old ones being retired, and auto-upgrade targets being adjusted accordingly. So, if you're managing GKE clusters, now is a great time to check your release channels and plan for these new versions. And a quick but important security note for GKE users of Managed Service for Prometheus. Version 1.22.1 has been released, which addresses multiple CVEs by updating dependencies. Specifically, the OpenTelemetry collector image has been upgraded to v0.119.0 to patch these vulnerabilities. And a quick but important security note for GKE users of Managed Service for Prometheus. Version 1.22.1 has been released, which addresses multiple common vulnerabilities and exposures by updating dependencies. Specifically, the OpenTelemetry collector image has been upgraded to v0.119.0 to patch these vulnerabilities. Moving on to the world of AI and machine learning. In Vertex AI, the M133 release of Workbench instances includes a small but welcome fix. It patches an incompatibility between the Dataproc Jupyter Lab plugin, Dataproc-Jupyter plugin, and instances that have end-user credentials enabled. A nice quality-of-life improvement for data scientists. And for those creating lifelike audio, text-to-speech has expanded its Chirp 3 HD voices. These high-definition voices are now available on the Asia Northeast 1 endpoint, bringing more realistic text-to-speech capabilities to the region. Now, let's talk about data and databases. It's a huge week for BigQuery. First up, for those working with open table formats, you can now access historical snapshots of Apache Iceberg external tables using the For System Time As Of clause. This is a powerful feature for time travel queries and data auditing, and it's now generally available. Handling JSON data also just got easier. The JSON keys function, which lets you extract unique keys from a JSON expression, is now GA. Additionally, you can now specify a mode for JSON functions that use a JSON path, giving you more flexibility in how the path matches your JSON structure. And here's one for developer productivity. Gemini-powered SQL code completion is now available in preview for all BigQuery projects. This can be a massive time saver, helping you write complex queries faster and with fewer errors. You'll need to enable Gemini in your BigQuery setup to get started. Two more GA announcements for BigQuery. First, you can now enable the BigQuery Advanced Runtime to improve query execution time and slot usage. Google has announced that this will become the default runtime for all projects between now and early 2026, so it's a good idea to start testing it. Second, a handy UI feature. In BigQuery Studio, you can now open saved queries directly in connected sheets right from the Explorer pane. Moving over to Spanner, we have two major services hitting general availability. First, the Cassandra interface for Spanner is now general availability. This is a game changer for anyone looking to migrate from Apache Cassandra, as it allows you to use familiar Cassandra tools and syntax while getting all the benefits of Spanner's fully managed, scalable infrastructure. Second, Spanner Graph's support for schema-less schemas is also GA. This gives you more flexibility when working with graph data, as you don't need to predefine a strict schema for your nodes and edges. And for our PostgreSQL users, Cloud SQL has completed the rollout of several minor version upgrades. PostgreSQL versions 13 through 17 have all received patch updates. For example, 15.13 is now 15.14. Two new extensions are also supported. PLSQL_check version 2.8, which is great for linting your stored procedures, and Roaring Bitmap version 0.5 for high-performance bitset operations. And for our big data folks, Dataproc on Compute Engine has a long list of new subminor image versions available across Debian, Ubuntu, and Rocky Linux for images 2.0 through 2.3, including ARM versions. Now, let's turn our attention to security. Cloud Armor has a great new feature now in general availability: organization-scoped address groups for security policies. This allows you to define IP address groups at the organization level and reuse them across different projects, simplifying policy management at scale. Security Command Center has also received some powerful upgrades. Model Armor's integration with Google Kubernetes Engine is now GA, helping you secure your AI workloads on GKE. Furthermore, Model Armor is now integrated with Google Agent Space by default, giving you greater insight and security for your agent interactions. The findings page in the console has also been improved. In the Premium and Enterprise tiers, you'll now see predefined filter views like vulnerabilities, identity, and threats to help you quickly triage findings. Enterprise tier users can also now filter findings by cloud provider, including AWS and Microsoft Azure. Finally, a technical but important security fix has been rolled out for HTTP services. To be more compliant with RFC 9112, requests and responses using the transfer encoding chunked header are now more strictly validated. Both the chunk body and the final chunk must now end in a carriage return and line feed, or CRLF. Rounding things out with storage, observability, and developer tools. In cloud storage, Storage Insights datasets are now more insightful. The Bucket Attributes view and Bucket Attributes latest snapshot view tables now include two new fields: object count and total size. This lets you easily query the total number of objects and the total size in bytes for your buckets. For cloud monitoring, there's a neat new feature for correlating data. When you're looking at a chart, you can now open a flyout that displays both the chart and the related log entries side by side. This makes it much easier to explore your metric and log data together to debug issues. In IAM, there are a number of changes this week. Several predefined roles are getting new permissions. For example, the Artifact Registry Writer role can now delete attachments, and the Cloud SQL Instance User role gets the Cloud SQL.instances.execute SQL permission. We also have new permissions added for Compute Engine related to regional backend buckets. On the GA front, the Firebase Cloud Messaging API admin role roles/firebaseCloudMessaging.admin has now reached general availability. Finally, let's cover the client library updates. For Java, the BigQuery library now lets you add a custom exception handler, and the Bigtable library adds support for proto and enum types. For Python, the BigQuery library has updates for fast-path query execution, and for Node.js, there's a critical bug fix in the Bigtable library that avoids a seg fault when calculating CRC32C on non-x64 platforms. The storage library also fixed an issue with resumable uploads when using a custom endpoint. There are also various dependency updates and smaller fixes across the libraries for data store, pub/sub, and logging. So check your project's dependencies for the latest versions. And that's a wrap for this week's Google Cloud Update. From the massive version shuffle in GKE to Spanner's new Cassandra interface going GA, there is a lot to explore. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another dose of Google Cloud news.